Hey everybody, welcome to Women Win Wednesdays. We are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully you can see this. I have my main squeeze. He is going to be moderating today, so he may or may not try to pop in and out of the camera. But today we're going to be talking about Women Win Wednesdays. Well, on Women Win Wednesdays, we're going to be talking about 10 things you should do before you say I do. And this is going to give you an opportunity to, really think about some of those things or questions you should ask before you say I do. And when I say I do, I'm really, kind of focusing on, of course, marriage, but some people don't want to be married or, they're thinking about it. Do you want this relationship to go to the next level? Do you see potential in this relationship? So that's what the do is all about. So we're going to talk about that. Today we also have, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to win. All right, we're going to give you an opportunity to win a free couples assessment. So whether you're just dating, whether you are engaged, or whether you're just a married couple that just wants to do a quick checkup, this assessment is going to give you an opportunity to see a little bit about your relationship, your relationship dynamics, your strength and your growth areas. So we're going to talk about that as well. So stay tuned to the end of the episode and I'm going to show you how you can win it. All right. So it has been taken by over 4 million people. And Brian and I took it and we were shocked by some of the results. We thought we were doing good in some areas. And I was like, oh my gosh. No, we're not. So we're going to talk about that and how you and, your significant other, the one that you're dating or thinking about being married, or if you're married, how you guys are going to actually be able to win it. All right. And 2 free of those premarital or sessions. Okay. To kind of talk about the assessment. All right. So we're just going to dive right in and talk about those 10 things you should do before you say I do. So before we get started, I want to do a little bit of level setting to kind of get your minds wrapped around what we really are going to be talking about. So I'm going to go through some of my notes so I don't forget, right? And so what I want to talk about first is just really, before we talk about those 10 things, is essentially the first thing you as women, I really want you to do is first, just take the blinders off. That's going to be really important for you to do before you can even think about any of the 10 things that I'm going to talk about, is really take the blinders off of the relationship that you're, that you may be currently in or you're thinking about getting into. We as women, we love projects, and you don't want to, you're not a lifeguard, you're not Jesus. You don't want to, yes, people have potential, but you don't have to go into a relationship wanting to save everybody. So again, just remember, take those blinders off and begin to really see things in the relationship for what it really is. Number 2 is, really think about what is it that you're bringing to that, that relationship. Either you want to be what you want. Be what you want. So if you want a guy that has money, that has a car, that has good credit, you gotta have good credit. If you want a guy that's physically fit, muscled up, you may have to, go to the gym, you know what I'm saying? So you have to be what you want. It's really not fair to get into a relationship and, and you're not that person that you want as well, because you have these expectations of the other person that they may not, they can't fulfill for you. So, marriage, dating, that's a partnership. And you don't want it to be one-sided. Number 3 is know your status of the relationship. Know exactly what the status of that relationship is. Before we begin talking about this, what's your status? Are you guys dating? Are you exclusive? Where is it going? How long have you been dating this person? Do people know about you? That's something that you need to know about. That's really some of the foundational things that you want to even begin thinking about before you even think about taking it either to the next level or, trying to decide if this person has the potential of being your mate, because marriage is nothing, is nothing to play around with. So our goal really is to help you to not waste your time, because that's the worst thing that you could ever do, is just waste your time. I've seen women date people that it wasn't really going anywhere, and it really took up time. So don't let nobody suck up all your good youth and your good years. Know where this relationship is going, okay? So I want to just kind of set that foundation before we begin. So we got a lot to cover. If you got a notebook and a notepad, you can always go and replay too. I want you to take some notes, okay? All right. So what is the first thing? Number one. What is the first thing that you should do in this relationship you feel that may have some potential, or you guys are going to get married, or you think the first thing you should do is really check out what is his communication skills? How does he communicate? And that is the first thing of any relationship. If you don't get that one right, it's like a sinking ship. It's like the Titanic. So you want to make sure, are you guys communicating? You know, can he, express how he feels? Can you express how you feel? Do you get ignored? Can you talk? What's their communication style? For Brian and I, when we first got married, it was really difficult for me to talk. I mean, certain people think that, it's easier for women to say, let's talk about it. But it was hard for me to talk. I was a runner. And so I didn't really want to talk about things, but he did. So it was hard for us to communicate because I never wanted to talk and he did. So we went through a premarital class, and they basically said, listen, for those people that do want to talk, give the person time who doesn't want to talk a chance to kind of process. The person who doesn't like to talk, you have to give that person who wants to talk some closure. So you guys got to give each other some space. Let's say you agree on, I'm going to give you an hour or two, kind of process, cool down. Then we both have to talk. So, you want to have that communication. Now, I do understand for my millennials, a lot of you guys love to text. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dating going on with an app. There's a lot of dating apps happening. But you got to be able to talk to that person. My father would always say, listen, baby, you got to look into his lying eyes. So I don't know if that's, you got to, there is nonverbal communication. So you do have to have that nonverbal communication, because texting is not going to tell you everything about how that person feels. So you want to be able to communicate. Put the phone down. That should be a song. Put the phone down and actually talk to that person. Get to know them. See their face. You do need to know what's going on with them. And the only, way that you're going to be able to do that sometimes is to be able to look into their face. Now, and don't ghost them either. All right. And so for those who don't know what ghosting is, my, millennial friends let me know. Ghosting means, you leave, you are nowhere to be found. Back in the day, me as a Generation X, we say they jetted, they ghosted. They didn't say ghost, but they jetted, they did. So that's what they did. All right. So number 2. How do they resolve conflict? You want to know how that person resolved conflict. How does their family resolve conflict? Does everybody break out into a fight? I've seen families where they playing cards and it break out into an all-out brawl. Tables being broken. I've seen that personally. So you want to make sure you understand how this person resolves conflict. You never know a person until you fight them. Honestly, and not fist fight. I'm not talking about a fist fight. You never know a person until they argue. Do they go for the jugular? Do they insult? Or are they the people that want to resolve the conflict? So you want to be able to know what type of conflict resolution skills this person has. Some people might say, we never argue. You better argue. You better find out, because you don't want to find out this person has a temper and go crazy. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I was the runner. I never wanted to talk. You want to have a balance with that. There has to be a person that's going to say, hey, babe, let's talk about this. If you have somebody like that, you got a good thing going. Trust me and believe. So do you have to win the fight? Sometimes you win the fight and lose the relationship. So you don't have to always feel like you got to win. Sometimes you got to make sure that you're, giving into or resolving or trying to find that happy medium. Or do they threaten? Do they intimidate? And of course, resolving conflict does not involve putting your hands on anybody. So that is definitely was a deal breaker in our relationship. It's like, no, we can resolve things without fighting each other, and, if they're fighting you during dating, they're going to fight you while you're married. So that is not something that you want to deal with. So number 3, do you have an opportunity to look at their finances? Do you look at the finances? Now, real quick, if you are dating, people can do what they want to do with their finances, okay? So if you're dating, they can do what they want, but you want to be able to take a look at how do they spend their money. Do they spend their money on, frivolously? Do they save? Are they cheap? Are they generous? You know what I mean? You want to be able to look at those things because, again, that is just so important. And let's say that this is a potential relationship that you do want to move forward with. That is the time you do want to talk about money, especially, who's going to maybe handle the money, who's stronger with the money. And sometimes it flip-flops in marriage. I mean, Brian was the spender and then I was the saver, and I was like real tight on the money, and then he was real loose with the money, but then we flipped and then we flipped back. So, but we found a happy balance. But you do have to make sure that you are absolutely talking about money. How does that man feel if you make more money than he does? When Brian and I first got married, I made significantly more money than he did at that time. And being newly married, he really felt like, listen, I should be taking care of you. He was saying things like, you don't need me. And I'm like, I do need you. I just make a little bit more money, but I need what you give me. I need that attention from you. I need that affection from you. I need that humility from you. I love the fact that you can resolve issues quickly. Those are those intangible things that, women, we need to really reassure men that even though we might be bringing home the bacon, frying up in the pan, we need to really make sure that we're not emasculating our men with the money that we have. We want to make sure that we let them know, especially that, you may not make more money than I do, but this is what I love about you, what I need from you. All right, so that was number 3. Number 4, all right, got my nails on today, is, do you know their leisure activities? What are they doing when they are not with you? All right. And also, what do you guys have in common? Because you want to find out what you absolutely have in common, because that's what's going to bring you together. That's really what's going to strengthen that relationship. And, there may be times that you may not have some things in common, but you want to be able to, talk about what are those things that you do have in common and some things that you don't. And then meet that person halfway. Like Brian, he loves to make films. He loves video games. At first, I didn't like to, be a part of the filming set, but I would go or bring food because I knew that was one of his love language. And he wanted me to be able to partake in that, okay, with him. All right. Does he make time for you? All right, write this down, girl. Does he make time for you? Is he too busy for you? Listen. You want to make sure that he is not all over the place where there is no time for you, because some people love to run, and they're never available. So we want to make sure that they're available for you as well. Now, number 5. Number 5, do you have the same spiritual beliefs? Now, this is very important. This is the glue that held us together, our spiritual relationship. So let me turn this down some. This is the glue that held us together. Listen, I'm going to tell you the God honest truth. If Brian and I had not had the same spiritual beliefs, we did not, give our lives to God, we would not be married 20 years later. That is just the God honest truth, because that is what held us together. Are you equally yoked? That is so important. Are you saying that let's say, for example, that you have Christian beliefs? And I'm not saying, everybody that's a Christian is perfect. What I am saying that it's very important that, you're trying to walk this out together. So do you have the same beliefs? Now, as a Christian, I wanted to find somebody that had the same Christian beliefs, because you know what? Sometimes you're going to need prayer. And can that man get a prayer through? I mean, there's going to be times where you just need somebody to remind you of who you are in the faith, remind you what God said about you, remind you through biblical principles that you can do all things through Christ. But if they don't know the Bible, how they going to tell you that? You know what I'm saying? So, and it also helps if, if you're having children, if you have two different beliefs, that's going to cause a rift into, let's say you're one faith and you're another faith. That's going to confuse the child. And so you want to just make sure that you're on that same accord there. So again, just know that you want to make sure that, you're walking together. And, that scripture says, how can two walk together except they agree? They can't. So that's number 5. Now that is number 5, but that is in the top 3. Communication is 1. Your spiritual togetherness or the same, having that similar belief is number 2. And number 3 is definitely finances. So, those are the 3 key things that you really want to focus on. All right. So that was number 5. Number 6 is, do you know your partners or your potential partner, the person that you're dating, engaged to? Do you know their habits? Are you an introvert? Is he an extrovert? Listen, that is so important because, like I was saying before, lifestyle and things like that. If you are an introvert and you like to stay home and that person wants to go all the time, you want to make sure that you're not going places by yourself and that person is just sitting home laid back. So you got to have that balance, find that common ground, because the person that likes to go all the time is not going to be too pleased if they have to do everything by themselves. It's like being married by yourself. That is probably the worst. Being alone in a marriage is probably the worst feeling, one of the worst feelings that you could have. So again, you want to make sure that you're showing that person that you're interested. Show and make initiative in those relationships. Don't be so laid back that, that person feels like you don't even care about them. And one other thing before we go, I had this mentor and she's still out there. Hey, Shelly Lopez. She told me that whenever you marry somebody, whatever their habit is or their lifestyle, it magnifies. So whatever that is, you got to know whether or not you can live with that. So thank you, Shelly, for that. That helped me so much. All right. So number 7. How do they view sexuality and affection? Are they faithful? That's number 1. Can you trust them when you're dating? Are you worried where they are? I mean, do they make you feel secure? Now, guys, if you are listening to this, the first thing women need is security. She needs to know that it's about her. It's all about her. She's not worried about any other woman. You are making her feel like she is the most important thing on this planet. So that's a secret, just in case you didn't know. All right. So ladies, is he faithful? And don't be making excuses if he's not. You know what I mean? You have to be able to know, is he faithful? Is he faithful in texting? Like my friend Felicia said, is he on the text? Is he, texting somebody and, muting his phone? You want to make sure that, if is he faithful? Is he affectionate? I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but get tested. Get tested before, get tested. You want to do that. Before I got engaged, after I got engaged, during engagement, I'm like, listen, we got to have full disclosure here because that's very important that you have full disclosure. So I'm like, listen, I need to see some papers, and he got some papers too. And so it's just very important because it's, working in a hospital for so long, I've seen people walk away with diseases that they could never get rid of. So that's important that you talk about those things, and it's very important. So again, very important. And I would say too, as a believer, I would say, wait. I think that's so important. Wait. I know everybody's not going to wait, but I would say wait because, when you begin that physical intimacy, you become one with that person. And then if they leave, then there's a ripping there. And that's why it's so difficult to walk away, So I would say wait. And then that way you're not having all these, relationships, and trying to find that one. So I would say wait. And some women may say, and a lot of women have said, well, if I don't, somebody else will, well, let them. Because at the end of the day, you know, and then you don't lose anything. You know what I mean? It's just letting you know that that self-control is not there in the relationship if they can't wait. And that's specifically, again, if you are, of a Christian faith. And of course, I'm not saying everybody that's a Christian don't make mistakes. I'm not saying that. It's really about, walking that thing out and trying your best not to do those things and asking God to help you. Now, number 8, we're almost done. Do you talk about kids? Do they have children? That's something that is very, very, very important in a relationship. The first thing we're going to ask, do they have kids? Do you want kids? How many do they have? That is very important. How many kids do they have? Listen, do they have 4 kids? Do they have 5 kids? Do they have 6 kids? How many mothers are attached to those children? I dated men that had children, and it was very difficult for me to navigate that. And so, yeah, that you got to figure out what is it that you can take in, what can you do with that? Do they take care of their children? That's another do. Do they take care of their kids? And how will that affect your finances if you get married? Let's say they have 7 kids. How is that going to affect your finances? How are you guys going to work that out? Those are real conversations that you need to have. How do they treat the mother of their child? That is so, so important. How are they treating the mother of that child? Are they giving her respect? That's just letting you know, yeah, sometimes it's very difficult to get along after you've broken up, but as a man, is he treating her with respect? Because that's going to let you know how he's going to treat you in the event if you guys break up. That just gives you a clear indication of that. So you want to make sure that, you get to know his personality with that. And then finally, how will you blend those families? If you are bringing children into a relationship, how are you guys going to work that out? What does that look like in your family? And every family is going to be different. But at the end of the day, with blended families, it's always about the kids. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's about the kids. So guys, if you got kids, make it work for the kids. Okay. All right. And then finally, number 10. Ooh, baby, okay? That's my husband over there. All right. Number 10. All right. Is do check out their family dynamics. That is so, so, so very important. What are the family dynamics? What do their friends look like? What kind of friends do they hang out with? And this is so important because this is kind of like a life or death in your relationship as well. Does their family have too much influence in that relationship, especially the in-laws? That is so important. Hey, mom-in-law, I love my mother-in-law. And my husband loves his mother-in-law. He brings her snack like every other day. So, I was over there comment. All right, so you want to make sure, what are those family dynamics? How are they getting together? What kind of family are you going into? That is so, what kind of history? Is there some mental illness in that family? Is there some deviancy in that family? Is there, you want to take a look at the families. What is his relationship with his mother like? Does she have a lot of influence? Is he mature enough to have that balance between his mom and you? Is he mature enough to say, listen, my wife comes first. I do, I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're saying, but is he mature enough to, not run to his mother or his mother in the mix of your relationship? So that's very, very important. Does he share your intimate relationships, like your arguments or anything that is not, does he share those arguments or challenges in your relationship with his family? That is so important that you cover the person that you're marrying. You don't want to talk down about the person that you're married to with your family, because what happens is they're not going to like them. And then you guys made up and they're looking at them all, side eye, and you all happy and bushy tailed and bright eye, and they can't stand him or her. So you have to cover your spouse. Find a neutral party that is not going to go back and tell people about that relationship, because you have to be in that family. You guys got to work out Christmases. You got to work out Thanksgiving. you know what? You also got to work out whether people popping up at your house too. You know, you got to talk about that. Do they have to have people in your house? Now you can see I'm passionate about it because that's happened. Do they have to have people popping up at your house every day unannounced? You guys got to talk about that because it could be to the detriment of your relationship. So those are the 10. All right. So the first one is communication. All right. What's the second one? The second one is, what's the second one? How do they resolve conflict? The third one is 3. Do you have an opportunity to talk about finances? Do you know their leisure activities? Number 4. Number 5, do you have the same spiritual beliefs? Very important. Number 6, do you know your partner's lifestyle? What's their personality type? Number 7, how do you guys view sexuality? What that looks like. Number 8, do you guys talk about children? How are you going to handle that if you do have children bringing into the marriage? Or do check those family dynamics. That is very important. All right. So that's it. All right. I think we're almost done. So now at this point, what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys. Is this how you do it? Okay. This is the assessment for a couple report. So Brian and I are certified, marital counselors or coaches for Prepare and Enrich. And like I said before, over 4 million people have taken this test. It is scientifically based. And what it doesn't actually talk about your compatibility, but what it does do is it takes a look at all those 10 things that I talked about. And so, like for communication, it could say, you think that you're really good communicating in this test, and your partner, when he takes a test, because they're 2 different tests, or 2 different assessments, your partner may say, I don't think we communicate very well. So you're going to get all those things, how does that partner feel about your lifestyle? How does that person feel about resolving conflict? The woman may say, I think we resolve conflict well, but the man may say, I don't think we resolve conflict well. So again, what it'll do is it'll take those 10 things that we talked about. This is the couples report, and you can also get a workbook with it too. All right. And so it'll take you through a lot of things like, how do we walk through this thing together? So you have an opportunity to win it for free. That plus 2 confidential sessions with Brian and I, however you want to do it. It could be Skype. But what you have to do is you have to subscribe in order to get it. So if you subscribe and say, hey, Tam, or something like that, or Love Month, or Team, whatever, we will draw your names at the end of the month, and we're going to pick them out on February 28th. But you must subscribe. So hit that subscribe button if you want to win those 2 assessments. We will, actually help you to interpret those assessments. So they're going to go in and kind of take a look at your relationship. And the good thing is it's a really great opportunity for you to discuss the relationship and those challenges that you may face. So I don't think I have the full report, but it talks about stressors. It talks about family map, what that looks like. It talks about a lot of things. So if you have any questions, you can also go on Prepare and Enrich. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to next week, where we're going to be talking about, just wait and see next week. So thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to see you guys next week. Did we have any questions, Little? Do we have any questions? All right. So no questions today. Again, you know how to hit me up on Women Win Wednesdays, and you can ask as many questions as you like. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next week.